Good afternoon, everyone. It's Thursday, May the 14th, and again, we're settling in for the long haul here. Yes, some potential good news this week as the Ontario government is getting ready to tell us what phase one of the reopening will look like. But we're also, as I talked about on Sunday, settling in a bit for the long haul into a temporary normal. And just settling in day at a time and getting used to this strange place we're in right now. And to that end, as go forward with these midweek messages, they've been steadily sort of taking more of a Bible study, devotional, spiritual practices sort of approach. That's where we'll go for the time being. Sort of called bread for the journey, because we're going to be on this journey for a while, and so I hope this is helpful to you. I'm sharing a little bit of what we talked about in our midweek Zoom gathering, and part of that is one of my practice, in addition to regularly reading and praying through the Psalms, is regular reading through the Gospel. I try and get to other areas of the Bible, but the one thing I try and do every day, or almost every day, is to sit down and read something from the Gospels. I think of it very much as spending time with Jesus, both to know his peace, his strength, to have a stronger sense of his presence that way, but also to be a disciple, to apprentice ourselves with him, to sit at his feet, look at what he does, listen to what he says, listen to his teaching, and over time become more like him, which ultimately is our goal as disciples, as students, as followers. And there are a variety of ways that we can try and do this. I think an important thing is to get a good Bible. I have a favorite translation. It's the New Revised Standard Version. I've used this one quite well. It's my second one to take it anywhere. But one thing that I also find helpful as you're reading through something like the Gospels repeatedly, to keep it fresh and to also be able to see new things, it's helpful to have to work from other translations. I have a copy of the New International Version, which is an updated version of what we have in our church pews here, a little different from the NRSV. That's my preferred version. This is a nice one with single column text, which makes it, I think, a little bit easier to read and engage with. I have a bunch of other translations, the English Standard Version, the New Living Translation. It, again, keeps Bible reading fresh, get new insights. Another one that I've found quite helpful is the Kingdom New Testament by N.T. Wright. Or Tom Wright, as he goes informally. He's one of the best New Testament scholars around right now, and he produced this sort of as a byproduct of the Gospel for Everyone, or the New Testament for Everyone commentary series he did. He do his own translation for each book, and then he put it all together in this quite readable, accessible format. It's pretty much like a novel that you would read. Again, a reminder that the Bible is primarily a story about who God is, who we are to him, and how we can live in his world. And this is, again, very much like reading an ordinary book, as much as it's a special book. I think it allows to read through either longer sections, to be more relaxed when we're reading through it. And I also find that, it's a fairly easy reading translation. It's got a lot of really good scholarship behind it, and also and to that end, I pick up new insights when I read through it. There's some quibbles, like the fact that this is very clearly a British translation. There's every now and then you dip into things like the fact that grain or wheat is called corn, but overall, I find it, again, a helpful translation to read through. And because, like I say, it does highlight some things that get missed because, again, Wright has a fantastic command of Greek and the subtleties. And the story we're going to look at this afternoon sort of picks up where we were on Sunday. John chapter 21, that resurrection appearance of Jesus on on the beach on the Sea of Galilee after the disciples have, led by Peter, have been fishing all night, found nothing. And then there's this conversation between Peter and Jesus there on the beach after breakfast. And again, John has a lot of wonderful subtlety. It's a very intimate scene between Peter and Jesus, as well as there's the other disciple that's sort of in on the conversation. And like I said, Wright's translation picks up, I think, something that's really important in there. And so I'm just going to read the first part of this scene. You can read the whole thing yourself on your own. But it's going to pick up verse 15 and the initial interchange between Peter and Jesus. It begins this way. So after they had eaten breakfast, Jesus spoke to Simon Peter. "Simon, son of John," he said, "do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Master," he said, "you know I'm your friend." "Well then," he said, "feed my lambs." "Simon, son of John," Jesus said again for a second time, "do you love me?" "Yes, Master," he said, "you know I'm your friend." "Well then, look after my sheep." "Simon, son of John," said Jesus a third time, "are you my friend?" Peter was upset that on this third time Jesus asked, "Are you my friend?" "Master," he said, "you know everything. You know I'm your friend." "Well then," said Jesus, "feed my sheep." "I'm telling you the truth," he went on. "When you were young, you put on your own clothes and went about wherever you wanted. But when you are old, you'll stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you up and take you where you don't want to go." He said this to indicate the sort of death by which Peter would bring God glory. And when he said this, he added, "Follow me." Now that might sound a little different than you're used to, because traditionally it just translates, "Peter, do you love me?" Peter says, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." But what Wright picks up on here is the fact that there are a couple different words for love in Greek. It's a little bit more precise in the Greek, ancient Greek language than in English, because love can mean any number of things in English. But there's particularly two different words for love used in this text here. There's phileo, which is the sense of the love of friendship. You can see that in place names like Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Philanthropy as a way of loving people. It's this ideal of love as friendship. But then there's another word that gets for love that's often used in the New Testament. It's called agape. It means selfless love, true self-giving love, love that gives of itself. In Latin, the equivalent term is caritas, from which we get the English word charity. And particularly in the Gospel of John, John highlights agape as this higher love, this Christ-like, Jesus-like love that gives of itself, that lays down its life for the one it loves. And in this scene, Jesus and Peter initially start off talking about two different types of love. When Jesus says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" he's saying, "Simon, son of John, do you agape me?" And Peter replies back, "Yes, Lord, you know I phileo you. I friendship love you." That's so where Wright picks up here. Jesus says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter replies in this translation, "Yes, Lord, you know I'm your friend." And what we see here is that Jesus and Peter are talking about two similar but slightly different ways of looking at love. Jesus, I think, is inviting Peter into the deeper kind of love that he has shown by his death on the cross, by laying down his life. And Peter's just not there yet. He responds by, "Yes, Lord, you know I'm your friend." And so Jesus asks again, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter replies by, "Yes, Lord, you know I'm your friend." And then finally, the third time, Jesus switches to Peter's language. And he says, "Peter, are you my friend? Do you phileo me? Do you love me as a friend?" And Peter says, yes, I do. And in this, I think we see how God, particularly here in Jesus, accepts whatever love we have for him, even though he might call us on to love him more deeply, to love him in the way that he loves us, and also in that to love others in the way that he loves, that selfless agape love. Because again, part of this conversation with Jesus and Peter isn't just about Peter loving Jesus, it's also about Peter showing that love by loving others, by loving others in the church and ultimately in the world. But I think in this scene we see, again, this wonderful moment of God, of Jesus accepting us just as we are, even as he invites us to follow him, to grow in our love for him, for others, to follow in his way. And I think right now, as we're all trying to do our best, as we're all struggling our way through this time, sometimes it can feel like, I should be doing better right now. But in all this, we remember that Jesus welcomes us as we are. Takes what we have, and it's enough for now. The love that Peter has right now isn't perfect. Peter has one of the greatest growth journeys in the New Testament. Great intentions, all kinds of mistakes, really has this terrible moment on the night Jesus is arrested, denies him 3 times, and yet Jesus welcomes him back here with 3 affirmations of love, and welcomes him back as a shepherd. Now Peter is going to make other mistakes, but as we hear also, in the end, Peter will be faithful. He will get to that Jesus-like love. He will lay down his life. He will die as a martyr for Jesus and for the sheep that he has been entrusted with in the church. And so what we have right now, whatever love we have for God right now, he's happy to receive it, to use our love for the good of others, even as he helps us to grow into that. So know today that whatever love you have for God, for Jesus right now, God is so happy. Jesus is so happy to receive that love. And if we walk with him, if we follow him, if we spend time with him, as Peter is spending time and the other disciples are spending time with Jesus here on the beach, Jesus will grow that love in us and do his work through that love that we offer him. And the other piece of good news here is that there's a path for us. As much as we work hard, we try our best, ultimately, if we're following Jesus, he's the one that guides our path. As this sort of scene goes on, Jesus told Peter what his path is going to be, that he is going to be faithful. But Peter then turns around and sees the other disciple, the one who's referred to as the disciple that Jesus loved, the beloved disciple, the disciple whose witness is behind this gospel. And says, well, what about him? What about his path? And because, maybe he's not so sure about this whole idea of dying for Jesus at this point, as much as he had boldly said that earlier. But Jesus says, don't worry about him. That's got nothing to do with you. Follow me and the path that I have for you. And that can be, again, something that we struggle with. We like to believe that we're the masters of our own fate, that we choose our own path. And we do. Our choices do matter, yet right now, I think particularly we're reminded that there are a lot of things about our own path that we don't choose. We didn't choose this time, this situation, and yet through it, we hope, we trust that God is doing something with us, to take something that's bad, that is troubling, and can use it for good. And in all this, there is a path, there is something good that God wants to bring out of our lives, and to bring out of whatever love we have to offer at his feet. I hope this has been helpful for you today. Along with this, I'll send the same study notes that I gave for our Zoom gathering. And if there's other things that you'd like me to go through in terms of working through the Bible, prayer, other practices for following Jesus, write me, let me know. Again, I pray that you would know that Jesus is with you through this time, to take whatever you have to get through the day and to make something good of it. We'll see you again on Sunday. Again, The worship materials will be up at 10:30. That's the family time, the scriptures, the songs, and then the message will be up at 11 o'clock to watch then. And then we'll be meeting by Zoom. If you want to join us by Zoom next Wednesday at 1:30 in the afternoon, love to see you. Just to check in how we're doing and just share a little time of study and devotion together. Until then, keep well. God bless. See you soon.